while the smallest of small enterprises have always been untouchable for big lenders because of the risk associated with unsecured lending, microfinance institutions and impact investors always saw them as a big opportunity which offers a huge potential to change lives. But with the COVID-19 pandemic, businesses have come to a complete standstill, and for micro businessmen and businesswomen, it's still the same story. As small businesses struggle to stay afloat, investors are facing tough decisions about short-term responses and long-term effects. So what will microfinance institutions and impact investors ensure that small enterprises will be able to sail through? What are they planning to do? We find out, and to do this, I am now joined by Vishal Mehta, co-founder and partner at Lok Capital, Vineet Rai, founder of Aavishkaar Group, Manoj Nambiar, president of MFin and MD of Arohan Financial Services. Gentlemen, thank you so much for speaking to us on CNBC TV18. Vineet, let me start this conversation with you. Borrowers come to you when they are facing a capital crisis. Given the times we are in, what is the kind of role that Aavishkaar Group is looking to play? You're on the front lines working with impact organizations that have been affected. What are some of the big issues your lending companies are facing as we speak?
Yeah, thank you, Megha, for having us here. I think borrowers and startups come to us in good times as well as in bad times. COVID-19 is quite unprecedented. So the fact that we are all challenged is not a surprise. And it's cliched for me to say or suggest that we are facing anything very different from what others are. Let me actually start by talking about what we as impact investors are doing. At Aavishkaar, I think the first and the most important thing is that a large number of our enterprises fall into essential services, which means these businesses are actually running at this point of time, even though disrupted because of the lockdown that has happened, and will face challenge, but it is not that they are fully locked down. This actually is good news, given that you can actually be serving the country, serving your farmers, serving the poor people, and at the same time you're operational. I think the challenge starts to those businesses who do not get qualified despite being very impactful, come into the non-essential services. So for example, microfinance, if you're not a bank, you would qualify as a non-essential services, which essentially means you are actually locked down. And if you have, microfinance sector has 5.6 crore borrowers. These are all women, very, very poor women, who have over last 2 decades have built a very formidable reputation worldwide for being one of the best borrowers, given all the challenges the big lenders have faced. I think the challenge we have is not necessarily about offering a moratorium to them, because I think that is very humane and very sensible by the RBI to announce, and for us to immediately pass it through. Right. The challenge is, how do you actually get the lenders to microfinance institutions to offer the same moratorium and follow the same compassion? I think that's really one challenge that we are going to face. At Aavishkaar Group, I think one of the things about us is we are large and we are reasonably liquid. So we would be able to deal with it, but there are other institutions who would actually see the struggle. Our other company, Ashwa or Intelligence, is doing the micro and small enterprise lending, also is in the same boat. One of the challenges being the NBFCs, there is no clarity whether the pass-through moratorium is available to them. So while they are actually offering moratorium, even entrepreneurs really do not have a business. And the challenge is not because the entrepreneur made a mistake. The mistake has nobody's. Unfortunately, we are facing a pandemic which is not in anybody's control. So blaming or pushing the entrepreneur...
That's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. These are unprecedented times, and that's something that's coming up in every conversation that we are having, Vineet. But Vishal, let me quickly come to you. SIDBI recently launched the COVID-19 Startup Assistance Scheme. It aims to provide working capital loans to growth stage startups, though it leaves out fintech and lending firms. I believe that this has not gone down well with a lot of fintech players and, of course, lending firms as well. Your views on this?
Yeah, I think, you can't expect everything from one scheme. For the fintech and the lending players, one of the most important things that has happened is the moratorium, right? I think almost 80-90% of the clarity already exists in that. There are some finer points. One of them, as Vineet was mentioning, if you are supposed to pass moratorium to your end clients, then what happens to you as an NBFC or as an HFC, right? Logically speaking, then you should also be able to avail that moratorium from your lending institutions. But that clarity doesn't exist, and there are a lot of suggestions that have gone to RBI for that. But as I said, on the SIDBI scheme, it's a good scheme. It's eligible. It's mandated only for startups, and that's fine.
Okay, so no complaints out there. But Manoj, let me rope you in at this point. What impact are you seeing from the coronavirus outbreak, and how would the microfinance or the micro-lending business manage it? How are you managing that at Arohan? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, as we heard earlier, see, basically microfinance is a very high-touch business. Essentially, almost 5.6 crore end clients get serviced on a weekly, sort of fortnightly and monthly basis. It's extremely high-touch business, and as a result, the lockdown is obviously made us stop operations. We are currently focused with our employees and ensuring that they are safe. They do not take any extra risk, by basically going into the field. We are also, we've completely moved the business virtual now. So rather than physical field meetings, we are ensuring that each loan officer is essentially doing con calls to his group of clients, ensuring that they are in touch. First of all, basically checking about their health, ensuring that the good news about the RBI moratorium is actually communicated to them, and preparing them as and when the lockdown finishes to be able to meet them with the assurance that they don't have to worry about money. We've been with them for the last 15, 20 years, and we will be there so that they can go through this difficult period where the lockdown ends and slowly limp back to normalcy. So at that point of time is when we will basically support them with extra credit facilities. We will also be able to restart operations by June, which is essentially when the sort of moratorium finishes.
Okay. So there seems to be at least an out date to this June is what you're expecting. But Vishal, if the lockdown and health issues continue for a longer time frame, what happens then? Do you guys have a roadmap or a contingency plan in that case?
This is a survival time, right? And survival in these kind of, especially the lending businesses that you're focusing on, literally depends on cash in hand, right? The liquidity position, which is true for most businesses, right? So I think you can only plan this for a certain period of time, and most of the planning that is happening right now is on the assumption that business as usual will return sometime in October, November timeframe, right? And that's where most companies would have are looking at their liquidity position. But if it goes beyond that, it's going to be much more pain than what we expect to happen in this current assumptions of business returning around October, November. And I think what you need to think is that initially, I mean, in some ways, yes, a lot of the impact investing businesses end up being in essential services, as Vineet was pointing out. But the other side of the equation also is that most of our end customers of our companies end up being in the lower income segment. And as we have seen in most of these kind of similar situations, difficult to compare this one to previous ones, but the lower your safety net is, the lower your income levels are, the higher pain that you will see. So I think that's the downside also, that we are expecting that a lot of these small and small businesses, the micro borrowers that our businesses tend to, will probably be the most impacted area as well.